Hello, my name is Errol, and in today's video I'm going to record how I made custom profile pics before I forget how I did it. Let me show you by saving badge to the bone. I couldn't add in... Who made this? I mean, it was me, but why am I restricting myself from making bad puns? Whatever. And here we are, look! These profile icons are camera shots of my custom character. Haha! I saved it to the Atavism database and then loaded them in from there. This took me a while to figure out, so let's get started with taking a screenshot. Now, of course, I had to look up how to do this, and so I went to YouTube, and after being distracted for an hour, I eventually found CodeMonkey's YouTube vids on screenshots in Unity. And there's another sale in the asset store. I have no willpower. Anyway, getting back to Unity, I put the screenshot code in the CharacterSelectionCreationManager script. I've made some significant changes to the script, but mostly removing game objects I'm not using, and I'll give a link to this file in the description below. Now, in accordance with CodeMonkey, I made a function called renderProperlyManager_EndCameraRendering, and it makes sure that the screenshot is taken after the camera has rendered everything. This part here takes a picture of a specified area of the screen, where the face is, and this next part resizes that picture because I don't want my database clogged up with large profile pics. Especially since here I convert the PNG to base64 to save it as text, and then I will store it in a variable called base64ProfileIcon. Remember that for later. Now, because this function waits for the camera to end rendering before taking a pic, that means I can't put this on the button that creates the character. See this boolean called grabbing profile icon? When it's true, it will take the pic, and it is set to true when I click a tab. I will change this to only take a pic when it's the last tab, but for now it's when it's every tab. By the way, I did try to save the pic when the player clicks the accept button, but clicking the accept button is a big mystery to me. It does some network stuff, and then the timing gets all weird, and I ended up with blank pics. So I avoided it, like I do when someone asks me for money. So, I have the profile pic data saved as a base64 in the variable, so the next step is to save this to the Atavism database. Okay, saving a character probably doesn't warrant a whole section, but within the CharacterSelectionCreationManager script, you will find the create character function, and here is where we add the property custom portrait with the data stored in base64 profile icon. Have I shown the database before? I don't know. Let's do it now. I'm using a free database viewer, and I've connected to the Atavism database, and I have the ObjStore table opened up. I have selected the record for my badge to the bone character, and on the right we can see all the data, and as I scroll down, and there it is, the character data is stored as XML, and this string is where we store the character profile pic. So now that we know that it works, you are probably thinking the next section is retrieving the data, but no! Retrieving isn't that big of a deal. It's displaying it that gave me a bit of a problem. I had to make a new custom control in the UI builder called IconProfile. IconProfile and IconProfileGroup are used to display the different character profiles. You can select and deselect them, and this is pretty much the same functionality as IconRadio and IconRadioGroup, so the code is basically the same. If we view this in the UI builder, here is IconProfileGroup, and it contains and controls these icon profiles, which I've named Profile 1, 2, and 3. Sadly, they're invisible because that's how they are initialized in the code, and you'd think I can figure out how to get them visible here without changing the code, but I couldn't. Why is this so hard? At least we can see the new character button. Yay me. Anyway, as I said before, it is similar to the IconRadio custom control, so it too has a value for me to set its index in the inspector. Okay, let's take a gander at IconProfile.cs. It's just like IconRadio.cs except for a couple of things. Here I have these variables to display, the image, the name, and then the type and level, which I haven't implemented yet. And yes, I know these shouldn't be public, and hopefully I'll figure that out later. Further down, I have these functions to set the name and the image. Setting the image is where I convert the base64 string into a picture and then load it into the texture, and I was surprised that worked. Everything else is the same as IconRadio, so let's go on to IconProfileGroup.cs. There are some minor changes with this from IconRadioGroup.cs. I have a function that will hide all the icon profile controls. Since I don't know how many characters the player has, we hide all the profiles first, and then turn them on when we populate it with a character. Also, when we initialize each icon profile, we make its display hidden to begin with. Activate first will set the first visible icon profile as selected. In fact, I use its display state of visible or invisible to tell me whether or not the icon profile is being used. If a player only has 2 characters, then only 2 icon profiles are being used, obviously, and the third will be empty and invisible. Next, I have this function slot count. It just tells me how many icon profiles there are in the group. And finally, we have insert profile. And at first I thought I could do it via index. Okay, icon profile 1, let's give you character 1. Here, icon profile 2, give you character 2, right? No, I couldn't figure that out. I didn't know how to loop through the icon profiles. I didn't know how to loop through the children or get the index number. And I'm not saying this can't be done. I just couldn't figure it out, and the internets didn't tell me. The only method I found was to do a query to get what I needed and then use that. Hey, UI builder, I don't know how to loop through your children, so just give me one that's invisible and thus not in use, and I can use that. That's done with this statement. And if we get an icon profile, I can update it with the name and the picture. Great, now all that's left is to update the Character Selection Creation Manager. Okay, this is a familiar place. In the function where we init all the UI, we have this line here which grabs all the icon profiles via uQueryBuilder, and then for each profile, we give it the function UIProfileClicked. UIProfileClicked is a simple function that calls the CharacterSelected function, and the CharacterSelected function, which I'm not going to show, is an Atavism function that updates the model on screen with the data from the database. And the last function I want to talk about is the one that initializes the character selection screen and populates the icon profiles. It's the start character selection function. Let's see, this gets all the profiles of the player. This shows the character selection UI. If the character entry count is greater than 0, in other words the player has created characters, we will then show the delete and play game buttons. Oh, and if there are less than 3 characters, then we will show the button to create a new one. In my game, they can only have a max of 3 characters because I don't want to bother putting in a scroll bar. Further down, we will hide all the profiles, and then we will loop through the character entries, and for each character, we will insert its data into an icon profile. And then we will select the first icon profile and we're good to go. And that's it, I think. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. As I mentioned, I did clean up the script a lot. If we go into Unity, look at all the, what are these called? Serialized objects? Anyway, I removed the old UI and replaced them with my own. And you may be thinking, wait, haven't you been working on this for like 4 or 5 months now? Hey, shut up. So I hope you learned something. I know I did. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.